got a great guest with us today, and you need to check out Reese's article in thehill.com about the righties and the UFC guys. One of the things that I have started noticing this over the last year and a half. We go cover local MMA events. I'll do backstage interviews with fighters, or go into the gym on 2 or 3 times a week. Why in the world did all the right wing or more conservative people, why are they in pro wrestling, boxing, MMA? Because it seems like, especially when I go to pro wrestling events, backstage, they're all righties. They're all yelling and screaming about Joe Biden. Joe Biden's ruining the country and all these things. How did this become? How did that world get into the whole combat sports thing?
I mean, it's a very complicated question to answer. Drawing from my own background, I was a wrestler, standout wrestler in my high school. I come from a wrestling family. Utah is a rural state. And usually a lot of wrestlers come from rural states. And rural states or blue-collar states tend to be conservative.
Yes.
The flyover
they're
country,
all righties.
the Iowa.
Seems
what was that?
Like. It seems like they're all in that area. You mentioned Iowa. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, like these are all the places that draw wrestling talent, right? And really the wrestlers have dominated MMA for decades now. Once
Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, hell, Rock's making a movie about Mark Kerr right now, which I find a little odd, but okay.
Right, Daniel, you could go on and on. And so I think that's part of it, it really is. You just got to think about where wrestlers come from and where that sport is popular, what states wrestling is revered in. And it tends to be rural. I grew up in Salt Lake City, so I was wrestling the country kids. The best schools were in the country. The best schools are in the middle of nowhere in Utah. Those are always the scariest wrestling schools. So I think that's part of the answer. I think we associate with aggressive masculinity with conservatism. Right. I mean, the beginning of the UFC, it wasn't explicitly partisan like it became post 2016 Trump, but it was implicitly conservative. They had military advertising and recruitment, the Hooters ads. It is kind of like Barstool Sports before Barstool Sports. It's a celebration of like traditional masculinity.
Yes.
So there's a part of that. But I also think part of it is manufactured that it's conservative because, Dana White will, when you have conservative political views, those fighters are encouraged to talk about politics. But there are tons of silent progressive fighters, right? You don't know that there's progressive fighters in the UFC because either they're internalized that it would hurt their brand if they brought up their progressive politics because of the audience, or Dana White, they're afraid of management. Like, censoring them or hurting their career in some sort of way. So you have people like, I think it's Kevin Lee, right, was at a Bernie rally. Yes. Or you have Bisbing, right, that is anti-Tory in the UK context. Paddy Pimblett and I forgot McCain. These British fighters that are anti-Tory, which is the Tory is the Republican Party of the UK. But you never hear... they're not platformed, right? They're never like their political values are not part of their persona, where with the Covingtons of the world and the Sean Stricklands of the world, they're all about like their entire brand is being anti-woke and anti-Biden, and so I think that's part of it. There's a little bit of it that is media constructed.
Oh, I would love to see a UFC fighter at the end of when he's doing his post-fight interview bring up Medicare for all. That would be the greatest thing ever. Paid family leave, something. But Uncle Dana's not going to let that happen.
Well, it's been interesting to see with the Gaza-Israeli conflict that a lot of these Dagestani and Russian fighters that are Muslim have said free Palestine is